So these are the questions that our team had for trying to understand how the literary texts are taught. And we can have, we can have any school which wishes to go first. I see our former colleague, Miss Annette Grimes from Orangeburg Wilkinson High School, and I was going to ask Ms. Grimes if she would like to begin.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As Dr. Wong said, my name is Annette Grimes. I'm a teacher at Orangeburg Wilkinson High School. The learning management system that we use at OW is Canvas. And my method for teaching drama is first establishing a historical context, because when students know the background information, it will give them a better understanding of the text. In addition to that, I share with them that drama was meant to be performed. It was not meant to be read the way we read it in class. And since drama was meant to be performed, role playing is very important. So they act out the different parts in the play. And because this is a literary text, it's essential that there is close reading of the text. When it comes to close reading, if it's a play, we have to pay keen attention to the stage directions as well as what the different characters are doing. To make sure they understand drama, I expose them to the fact that drama has an emotional appeal. An emotional appeal in the sense that they see characters at their worst, and at times they may see them at their best. And this creates a certain degree of empathy, because at the end of the day, they themselves might have made some of the mistakes. So the type of exercises, written exercises I do with my students is we do a lot of analytical writing. So they'll have to interpret what they're reading and be able to write about it. So they put themselves in the action by writing journals. And when you write journals, it's as if you don't see yourself outside of the text, but you become an active participant in the learning process.
Thank you so much, Ms. Grimes. So we heard from Orangeburg Wilkinson High School. Who would like to go next? We have 7 high schools, in this project.
I will volunteer to go next from Branchville High School.
Wonderful.
All right, my name is Dr. Christy Hughes. A little background about me before I start talking about how I teach drama. I spent most of my career as a college teacher as well. I taught at Orangeburg Calhoun Technical College, and this is actually going to be my last year of teaching in the K-12 system. So I'm actually hoping to get back into college teaching next year. So the way I focus on dramas is really according to the play that I am teaching. If I am teaching Shakespeare, and say, for example, I'm teaching Richard III, then my approach would be more of an historical analysis. We would focus on Tudor propaganda. We would focus on using primary sources to understand whether the play is actually an accurate representation of Richard III's life. We would look at some of the writings of St. Sir Thomas More, some of the others as well, in order to better understand that play. If I were teaching a comedy like Much Ado About Nothing, I would probably do a formalistic close reading type analysis of that play. One thing that we would do would be to examine the miscommunication that takes place in that play. And we would even talk about how the miscommunication in that play is a lot like some of the comedies that we see on television these days. So I would try to tie it into our own time period. If I were teaching a tragedy, my favorite was always King Lear. I would do a feminist approach on that play. If I teach Macbeth or Hamlet, again, I would try to do a close reading, formalistic approach. I like to focus on the themes in plays that are tragedies: good versus evil, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. What is our purpose on earth? Those types of things. If I were teaching American literature, which I have in the past, one of my favorite plays to teach was Tennessee Williams' The Glass Menagerie. So many symbols in that play. August Wilson's Fences is another example of an American literature piece that I love to teach. And that too is full of symbols and the wonderful theme of being trapped or caged in a bad situation there. So again, my approach to drama is it's varied according to what play it is that I'm teaching. The exercises that I use, we do analysis of the soliloquies, the monologues, of course, any of the dialogue that is highly important to understanding the symbols and the themes within the play. Sometimes I will have my students switch in the point of view and look at a particular scene from Ophelia's perspective instead of Hamlet's perspective. Sometimes I do one-pager projects when I'm teaching drama as well. The writing that I have them do, I usually will have them do things like diary entries, letters from the perspective of various characters. I might even get them to add in a deleted scene from a play. You know, between this scene and this scene, what do you think would have happened behind the scenes? And so they would, come up with the dialogue between characters in a project like that. Sometimes I might have them add a character to a scene. What would another character be thinking if he or she was added here? Or maybe even pretend to be a fly on the wall. What are you thinking if you are, or if you're just an observer and trying to figure out what's going on? Our whole Orangeburg County School District uses the Canvas learning management system. I have used Blackboard as well as D2L in the past, but Orangeburg County all uses Canvas.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hughes. This is very, very informative. Our next high school colleagues.
Okay, I'll go next.
And you're from?
Lake Marion High School.
Lake Marion? Wonderful.
Yes. Also, we use Canvas as our LMS as well. And that is where, like warm-ups and quizzes are posted. Like, for example, to get them familiar with drama terms, I post those quizzes there. When it comes on to the methods or approach to drama, we believe in a layered approach. So this helps the students to not only analyze the experience, the play, but they get to experience the play. So first, we begin with providing them with a background information, the historical context of the play. And this is where students are also able to draw on information that they've already learned from US history, so that they can make the connection between McCarthyism and, Red Scare, the context in which the play is written. So, as I said before, we use a historical approach right there. To teach the play, I assign students characters because we do read the play, and students are able to put themselves in characters. They know the part that they'll read and they'll read accordingly. So they know that they're not going to be reading the stage directions, but they're actually going to be reading the actual dialogue that the person or conversation that the person is having. So this allows for smooth reading of the play. We look at themes, we look at the stage directions, and we do a lot of analysis of the play. I also incorporate performance because, as my two other colleagues mentioned before, a play is meant to be staged. It is meant to be performed. So students they really get enthused about acting out scenes, and so they get to do that as well. What am I missing out? For exercises, students, they get, well, when the play is completed, they have projects to complete, and I use a differentiation approach to this. I know that students have different interests, so the activities that they get to do for this part, they are varied. We do debates, we do journaling. For example, imagine you're Mary Warren, write a journal entry. How is it that you felt when you were in the court scene? So they do a lot of journal and also essay writing. So they get to analyze themes and characters. I hope I covered everything.
Thank you so much, Ms. Matt. We have, 4 other high schools?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anyone from Edisto?
I'm from the middle next. You want it from Edisto Middle School, but
okay. All right. So you would not, so you would not be teaching these, not at this time, right?
well, I mean, I have taught, Romeo and Juliet, Midsummer's Night's Dream, Hamlet is not a far stretch. And I would echo that even in the middle school to English 1 students, which is a high school credit course that they take in middle school, we do many of the same things. Literary analysis, paper, 1-pagers. We even use I don't know how to describe it, but I will give them the pictures of the scenes and they create the dialogue, and then another group has the dialogue and they have to create pictures of the scenes. So, I mean, I think some of the practices still apply. But.
Thank you so much. I think we have left North Middle and High School.
I'm from North. I can read what I have.
Share. You can share.
Yes. Oh, where is it at?
Yeah, we can't see your last name in the name.
Okay.
And your miss?
Avery Jackson at North. So
okay, we can see it right now, right? Yeah.
So we use Canvas as well. I think most of us have said that. My methods to approaching drama, I said I give historical context. So I'll do a mini lesson to kind of, because I think it's really important for students to have the history background before we begin actually reading. Then we will role play. So I'll assign roles and we'll do group discussions and other activities like that to ground in understanding. And then what exercises do you use? We do the read aloud role playing. And so sometimes we'll take it a step further and act out the scene in the classroom. I'm big on group discussions and Socratic seminars that I'll prepare, and that the kids will have time to share their own opinions about what's going on. And I'll have projects where they're researching historical significance and perhaps the history of the time period of what we're reading. Writing assignments, some of the ones that I have done so far have been, we've done diary entries, our research writing, and close reading analysis.
Thank you so much. So we need to hear from Bowman and from HKT and Mises.
So I'm here from HKT.
And let me see. And you are?
My name is Latasha Berry.
Miss Berry, yes. Okay.
So I'm Latasha Berry. I'm from HKT High School. And I'm currently working on Hamlet. So we use Canvas, but personally, I'm also in graduate school. So I use Blackboard through that. I've never taught with it, but I am using it as a student. But my students use Canvas. I've also used Microsoft Teams with them as well. When I approach drama, I usually start with the historical context so that my students can have a vision of what's happening in the world, not just where the play is taking place, but just in the world as a whole, just to see what life is like. And then I expand that to include information about the author, to give them background information, and just to see if we can, as we read, if we can make some connections between the author's life and background and what was actually written. That helps us to identify author purpose as well. Uh, as everyone has pretty much stated, plays, I always tell students that we are reading the script. Um, just like a script is in Hollywood, but we go to the movies to watch the actual film. It's the same way with the play. And so, for example, right now with Hamlet, my students each have a part. Every single kid has a part, and they stand up in front of the class and they actually act it out. They use vocal inflections. They attempt to, as they read the different notes, stage notes and things like that, they attempt to use body language to help to depict what's actually happening in the play. In the past, I've had students to dress up as characters and come in and act out parts of the play. But the important thing I want them to know is that we're reading a script and that the playwright's intention was for us to actually see it come to life. After I tend to do close readings after we've gone through different scenes in a play, and then we take a deeper dive in. I use that to kind of up the ante as far as depth of knowledge and add rigor to the class, and to give my students practice in analytical skills when it comes to readings. Different exercises that I've used with plays include journals, uh, double entry journals, diary entries from different character perspectives. And sometimes I will have students, like if it's a double journal, I might have Hamlet on one side and his father on another side, and they might be having a conversation with each other that kind of fills in the gaps of what we have in the play. Uh, I tend to use personalized learning projects. And so I give my students, it's like a menu of different things. I may tell them that they have to choose 3 things from the menu to work on. And I try to approach it from all the different aspects of multiple learning intelligences. So students who might be good with math, I might have them to build a globe theater to scale. For students who are good with more artistic type things, I might have them sketch out something, a scene from a play. So I give them choice because I think that increases student engagement and student buy-in. I've had students to create musical soundtracks so they choose current songs, modern songs that they think would go good. Actually, I changed that. The songs do not have to be modern. They just choose songs that they think would pair well with different scenes and aspects in the play. I've had them create movie posters where they choose characters, actual actors and actresses that would do well acting out different characters in plays. I use reading quizzes sometimes to give them a nudge to make sure that they go back and review what we have acted out. Um, I do a variety of art projects in addition to the things that I've mentioned from the personalized learning menu. And when it comes to writing, right now we're using Study Sync. So I have been utilizing those writing prompts. Again, I mentioned journals and diary entries. So of course that counts as well. And I'd like to do things cross curricular. So if I can somehow tie in what we're studying in a play with a work, sometimes it doesn't, but I make the attempt anyway, just to show students that what we learn in our class is not contained to the class, but that it actually contributes in a variety of areas in the school.
Thank you so much, Ms. Berry. That was very, very informative. Do we have our representative from Bowman?
Yes, hi, this is Mr. Green. I
Hi,
think
Mr.
I'll,
Green.
hi, I'm parked, I'm home now. I am just starting Hamlet, and I've approached British Lit from a timeline kind of thing because I think the kids find it interesting because of how the English language is evolving during the time. And so we spent the best part of the end of last week talking about Shakespeare. We read the informational text about how his work, it was doubt that there was doubt about him actually being the author of his works. And so like yesterday we started Hamlet, and I started off with characters. Like I wanted the students to, because the names are kind of Marcellas and all these names, and I wanted them to kind of place the characteristics of the characters before we got into the actual reading. I also had a pre-reading worksheet where I passed out to the students, and also like historical kind about Shakespeare and how Hamlet was is one of the most important dramas in the English language. And so the class that I have right now is a class of 14 boys and 2 girls. So it's kind of challenging, and I'm kind of playing it by ear, trying to figure out how am I going to get these boys to be into this drama, this play. I wanted to act it out, but the girls wanted to act it out. The boys are kind of, the girls are kind of shy to act it out in front of the boys, and the boys are kind of too shy to do it. So I'm trying to get them into it, if it makes sense. And so today I gave them a character handout, and we're going to go and try to figure out the characteristics of the characters before we get into the actual play. So they can understand, they know the historical context because I've been teaching British Lit from the beginning to up to Shakespeare coming in, and now we're into Shakespeare, and that's it. So I will have more information on another date because I am just starting it out. Yesterday was my first day entering it with this class, and it's the first time I've ever taught Hamlet in the 12th grade class. So I'm still in the infant stages of the process. But I did get resources from an outside source, teachers page teachers, where there are a lot of great resources there, so I can kind of get the students into Hamlet and understanding Hamlet as a whole and what it's about. And so I have also, like, tomorrow after we go through the characters, I'm going to go through the themes of the play, and one is a mother and the mother relationship theme, and try to tie that into the students and their own personal lives.
Thank you so much, Mr. Green. This is so wonderful. Before we bring in Dr. Peggy Ratliff to discuss the Library of Congress and how it can actually enrich the assignments. Listening to all the seven colleagues from this high school's talk, I was reminded of Hamlet's own line where he said, I think he said, the play is the thing, where he was talking to the players, right? When he was, for the play within the play, when he was addressing the players, he talked about the play is the thing. So, the emphasis on performance, in the classroom, especially in high school, seems to me to be very exciting. With that being said, I'm going to turn over to Dr. Ratliff. And Dr. Ratliff, you can share your screen if you wish. And this discussion, Dr. Ratliff's presentation and discussion, we would like all these to be interactive. We'd like them to be interactive. So it's over to you, Dr.
Have you given me permission, Dr. Wong, to
Yes,
share?
you can, anybody who wants can share their screen.
Okay. Okay. You all have done such a good job that basically we're on the same page, how you are teaching Hamlet is basically some of the same things that that we've discussed before. So I'm glad to hear that we are on the same page. So really, you all have made my presentation for me, and I even picked up some ideas. Okay, but I'm Peggy Ratliff, and I'm a professor and chair in the Department of English and acting chair in the Department of Mass Communications. I'm just going to point out some of the assignments that I listed. I'm not going through the whole thing, but I'm just going to point out, of course, the Library of Congress has so much information, and a lot of you said you use historical background, and that's one place that you can find a whole lot of historical background for primary source. The same thing with the Folger Center, okay? And so, like we start with the background because you have to know what really happened with Shakespeare. So you learn about him, we teach about him, and we also teach about England, what was happening in England during Shakespeare's time, because that's very important too. I'm looking at slide 5, and it's kind of tell you what I start off with is basically, the introduction to Hamlet and the Elizabethan period, and just what was going on during that time. Because people like Shakespeare, born during the Elizabethan period and the 16th century. So that has a part in how he writes and what he's going to write about. So I explained that to students and let students know that, just like for today, what would we write about today? what was students' rights. So Shakespeare, a lot of his information, as you know, is taken from what was going on during that time. So let me go to slide 7. Okay. My internet is on kind of slow where I am. Go back to slide 7. Okay. So as I think I mentioned to you before, the Globe Theater played such a large part during Shakespeare time. In fact, looking at the historical background, he even owned part of the Globe Theater at one time. So what I would do is, look at a picture from the historical background, from the Library of Congress or Folger's library. And now my assignment would be having students imagine what was be happening at the Globe Theater. Use your imagination. Now, by this time, we probably have seen some background films on Shakespeare. Starting off with Shakespeare's life, we will see a short film on that. And then maybe some parts, not the whole play, but parts of Shakespeare in Love, because it also shows a lot of things. It shows the dress. It shows the way women were treated during that particular time. And it also, shows just how cruel that it was in England and just in general during the Elizabethan period. And, so that's one of the things that I show. But the Globe Theater, I said, use your imagination about the Globe Theater and write a 300 to 500 word essay describing what it must have felt like to attend one of Shakespeare's events. Because basically, in the Globe Theater, you have people standing around, some standing around the whole time. And then you had the Queen and different royalties. The royalties in the you have these royalties also who are sitting up in the bleachers and stuff. So these are some of the things that we have to that we discuss with students. Okay, so moving from the Globe Theater, we want to let me go to slide 8. Slide 8. Okay, and during our historical discussion, we also talk about who were some of the first plays, and I explained to them that, women weren't allowed to participate during this particular time.
Excuse me, Dr. Redlove, are you sharing slides?
Yes, can you see it?
No.
You all can't see it?
Mm-mm.
Dr. Wong?
Yeah.
You can't see the slides?
No, we can't see the slides.
Oh, okay.
Can you email them to me?
You have them.
No, I know you shared, but I
sent them to you today.
I know OneDrive won't give me access.
Oh, okay. I'll try to email them to you again. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you all were seeing what I was saying.
I tried many times. OneDrive won't give me access. Something is, the problem with that shared drive today.
Oh, okay.
I logged out, I logged back in, I cannot see it.
Okay. I'm gonna send them to you again. Yeah. Dr. Wong, you should have stopped me from going so far.
No, as I said, we were all familiar with the text to a great extent. Yeah, I know you shared it, but what it is saying, it's saying that it won't let me open. Thing is, but the thing is, once you share it, I should be able to open it. Won't let me share. It says awaiting approval. There's something wrong.
You can.
Yeah.
It should be coming to you
Okay,
now.
yes, I have it again. Let me see if it will open. Yes, it's opened.
Okay. So maybe I should stop sharing and let you
I can
just
share it.
push it.
Okay,
It
which
may be
you want to go
my
to?
connection.
You're going to slide 7,
Huh?
right? Are you on slide 7?
Yeah, I'm on slide six. Yes.
7, okay. So this is, can everyone see slide 7? If not, I can download it and let's see. I will download it so we can get a better view.
Well, I think I need to stop sharing.
Yeah.
And I can speak from, let me close mine out. Okay, Dr. Wong, you want to start sharing?
Yes.
I'll just stop.
I think it should work. So this is slide 7, Dr. Radcliffe, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Let me go back.
Go to slide 8, the one with
This is
Richard Burbidge.
7. This is 7, and this is 8.
Yeah, I talked about 7. 7 was about the Globe Theater.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, Richard Burbidge, was the first actor to play in a Shakespeare play. He was the first performance of Hamlet. And so my assignment, Dr. Wong, could you make it a little larger?
Okay, sure. Is that better?
Thank you. Mm-hmm. He was the first actor to portray Hamlet, Richard Burbidge. And so after background information on him, my assignment for students would be do a diary entry, and imagine what Richard Burbidge would say on portraying Hamlet. Just what would he say when he put a diary entry? What do you think he would write? You would have to use your imagination. I've also given students by this time some information on him. I'll have them to look him up, see what type of person he was. So can I explain what would he say about that? And this would be a 200 to 300 word diary entry. Okay. And Dr. Wong, if you would go to the next one, please. Now, this one would be about the ghosts in Hamlet, some of the themes that found in Hamlet. Okay, so some of the themes found in Hamlet, of course, revenge. I don't know what's happening here, but my computer. Revenge would be one of the themes, and madness. Now we see madness in a great deal of Shakespeare's play, right? We see madness in King Lear, then the theme of mortality, because when Hamlet is speaking, he's speaking about should he commit suicide or shouldn't he? Death, deception, appearance versus reality, corruption, sexuality, because females are not treated very well, especially Ophelia and not even Hamlet's mother. Politics and religion, all of these are themes. And this is some information that you can get from the Library of Congress. I would ask students to create your own character and context setting and write a 518 words, 100 word scene depicting one of the themes above. So you're going to And maybe you will change something. Maybe you'll make Hamlet really does, get revenge, because Hamlet is always procrastinating. Okay? He pretends to be mad, but I want students to write their own theme. And today it's so easy. I had students to make a video last spring when I taught Hamlet. They even made a video of one of these showing how the queen actually wasn't as simple as she seems to be. In fact, she was smart. And on the end, she really got her own revenge. So these are some of the things that I would have students do, because you want them to know about all the themes that's in Hamlet. What's real, what's not. Because, Hamlet even questioned the ghost, his father, whether he was real or not, because there were evil spirits during this particular time. And I would certainly explain that to students. I heard someone say good versus evil. Yes, themes like that. So Dr. Wong, you can go to the next one. Poetry. Students like to write. They like to write poetry. So one of the things that I would do is have students to write a poem focusing on a major theme in Hamlet, like revenge or madness, using imagery and language to convey emotional depth. And that could be a one-page poem or a two-page poem. Just look at one of the major themes, look at, for example, if you're looking at madness, if you're looking at revenge. And you could even write something about the goat, or you could write about Hamlet himself and his tragic flaw. And go to the next one, Dr. Wong. Okay, choose one character from Hamlet, Ophelia, Hamlet, Claudius, or Gertrude, and write in your journal from their perspective, from that one person perspective. Each entry should reflect a different point in the play. Consider the character's thoughts, feelings, and reactions to key events. Use textual evidence from the play or primary sources to enrich your entries and provide context. This is where you're going to get into the mind, really, of the character, we pretty much get an idea what Hamlet is thinking, but what is Ophelia thinking? What is Claudius, the king? We know that he does not want Hamlet to discover that he murdered his own brother. And Gertrude, because Gertrude comes across as flighty, just wanting to be queen and not wanting any type of problem. So what will she write from her perspective? Will she really want the best for her son? Does she ever question her husband? And Dr. Wong, you can go to the next one. And I would use the primary sources to have students to support that. And now this is an early on assignment, the ghost role. Write a letter from King Hamlet to his son explaining his appearance. 400 to 600 words. Dear son, or dear Hamlet, the furry son, Hamlet II. What would he say to his son? You can use your students would use their imagination. Does he tell his son to seek revenge? Does he explain everything to his son? Now, this is a very interesting that I've tried before, and students come up with all kinds of different things. But when they're drawing from the book, they use things like "don't harm your mother," just revenge my death and things like that. And so the next one, Dr. Wong. Yeah, look at this would be an early on assignment too. And this is where I would show, pictures of the castle. And, I would explain to students something about Elsinore Castle in Denmark. Then I would want them, using vivid language, to write about that particular castle. Is it cold inside? Is it dark? Use your imagination. What do the rooms look like in this big building? Is it beautiful? And students like to do that too. They like to use their imagination because there are pictures of the castle during this particular time. And even now, the castle is still in Denmark, not on the Elsinore, but a different name. And I have students to look that up too. Next, Dr. Wong. And of course, we would discuss the characters, and as they would do journal entries or diary entries, or we would really discuss and go in details with the play, to be or not to be, because so much is in that play. So much. I have students to write about and they get into a big discussion when you start talking about suicide. They give you examples sometime of what has happened in their family. And, we talk about to commit suicide. Is it a cowardly act? Or is it brave? Because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know where you're going. And so students write those, and then we come back and we discuss them, and we have a very good discussion on that because they have different opinions. Dr. Wong, you can go to the next one. Then with the ending of the play, I have students to do an alternative ending. And now with so much video out there and so much AI out there, you can actually put the characters in a video. And I had students to do this, change the ending by placing these characters in the video, giving the characters the voice and the words that they have created. And so you look at it as a video, and it's quite interesting how they change up, And so this is an exercise you can have students to do. Instead of it ending like Shakespeare ends it, you give it another ending and let them make a video out of that. And that may be it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That concludes, all the, assignments one can actually
Yeah,
do
but
with
these
Hamlet
are some of the exercises. And it seems like a lot of you all are doing much of the same thing. I also have my students to, after each play ends, and I do the tragedies mostly. And sometimes I have them to do different scenes, after we finish one act. I have them to dress up as the characters. They enjoy that. They'll put on a sheet or something. But they have, they fully dressed, but they'll put on a sheet to pretend that they're Ophelia. And now I have them to write the words, not use Shakespeare necessarily, but write their words, what they think, the character, how they interpret it. And that's quite interesting. But this concludes my discussion. Sorry for the the early mishap, but if you have any questions, I'm certainly willing to answer them, or if you have any discussion following this presentation, sure.
Dr. Ratliff, would you like to share those slides which some of us we couldn't see? I could go up. Those were before 7. I think.
Yeah, you can go back to.
So this was
let's
book
see.
theater. And this
This was
one,
the
this
theater.
is, this is the Library of Congress exhibits,
Yeah.
Shakespeare exhibit. Okay, this is there. I mean, this is a very important resource. And
Yeah.
and then
Just about most of them have some type of link. I didn't try to open the links, but there are several links to these activities where they could find primary source. And yeah, so this is one you would do. And the next one, Dr. Wong, is I yeah, this shows a picture of the Globe Theater with the folder. If you could click on that, I don't know whether they're open now or not, but it may open.
it may open.
Let's see if
have to
it
stop
will open.
share. I'll stop sharing and then reshare. How about that? Let's see what it opened. I think
there are a lot of pictures of the Globe Theater that you can find on the internet, or you can go to Folger's Theater or the Library of Congress. They won't have a problem with finding that. And especially there's videos on the Globe Theater that they can show to the students who give a good idea, of what it looked like. And it discusses it, and it speaks about, where everybody was sitting and some people were standing, and, it eventually burned down and all that. So yeah, that won't be hard to find. I think Dr. Wong, anybody has any other questions?
Any suggestions, any questions? Because we are hoping that, the students will do some, creative assignments like diaries and things, because we have to, we're creating a website with, the names would be removed. It would have your assignment prompt and some samples of your students' work. That's what the Library of Congress wants to see, is to see how this is being done. And, we shared that in the very first, the very first workshop. So does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I did a slide in the beginning on the sources, nothing but source. Yeah.
So if we have no...
I do have a question, Dr. Wong, if you don't mind. Sure. When we use these primary sources, are we encouraging our students to pull direct quotes from the primary sources into their creative writing, or are we just using the source material, and are we giving credit to the source material at the end in MLA format, or what are we doing here?
Let me explain. We are not, we would like to use the primary sources as inspiration for a creative assignment. I don't know. I was, Dr. Hughes,
were you on our first
quote workshop?
It directly?
Were you on our
if they're going to use it, go ahead, Dr. Wong. I'll wait.
Yeah. I don't know. Dr. Hughes, were you on the first workshop?
I was, but I was in and out because we were having parent-teacher conferences that evening, so I may have missed something.
Right, because Dr. Robinson showed us how to do things with different types of creative writing, and he will be one of the presenters next month.
Yeah, and if I
iterate some of that.
Yeah, and if I can jump in, I don't recommend students include quotations from the material in their creative work. I recommend that the creative work be entirely of the student's imagination. So I think, as just to reinforce what Dr. Wong says, they should use those sources as inspiration, and then I'll have a lot of recommendations when I present in October, when I talk about 1984, about how students should take that work and use their imagination and create their own imaginative work from it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I just wanted to add that, yeah, that's basically what we want them to do. But if they are going to pull directly, I certainly would suggest that they use the documentation. But overall, we just basically want them to, use it as inspiration. But if they are using a primary source and they put anything there, then they don't want to be, accused of plagiarism. So I would add that, but mainly I agree with what Dr. Wong and Dr. Robinson said.
If we don't have any more questions on Hamlet, we will ask Dr. Beckers to continue with the 11th grade selection of the Crucible, and she has some very interesting types of prompts which can be entirely creative.
I have a question.
Yes.
You talked about plagiarism, and I'm wondering, isn't it too old, the book, for it to be considered as plagiarized right now? Because I do have my students sometimes even drawing like the globe theater in the differentiation. Some of them cannot express characters and characterizations very well. They resort to drawing a character, and when they put those expressions on their faces, on the characters that they draw, I demand of them to tell me why they drew a character in such a way. And that way they are able to bring out the character traits of a certain character. So, yeah, talking about plagiarism, isn't it the book is too old for it to be considered a plagiarized item, or again, it's for academic purposes?
Oh, I don't think we were talking
Yeah,
about,
especially with the drawing like that. Yes, I
we were
agree with
talking
you.
about the Library of Congress sources.
Okay.
Yeah, supposing you have a source or you have an image of some sort, right? And they're inspired by it, right? They could say they were inspired by something, but and the thing is, they would not be quoting in using direct lines of Hamlet anyway, because it would be a creative piece, which which they would come up with from beginning to end. But
Okay.
but it's, as I said, it's not a research paper in any way.
All right. Thank you.
With regards to the age of the book, I mean, for my students, anything that is not their own writing, anything that they have not written, that they have gotten from somewhere else, is plagiarism, regardless of the age of the work. The work must be their own.
Understood.
Yeah. And as I said, this is good because we have to have some clarity on what we are asking the students to do. So I suppose, Dr. Beckers, would you like to begin?
Sure.
Yeah, the screen sharing is enabled.
So the Crucible, a lot of the things that I presented last, I noticed that you are already using in your classroom. The diary entry, the doing something from the perspective of one of the characters. So I am going directly on to the Library of Congress resources for, let's start with the diary entry. Several of you mentioned this. And I have the Did I lose you?
No, we can't see the screen. I mean, we can see the visual.
Okay. So this is one of the Library of Congress resources that would suit itself well for diary entry. And it can, so you could pull it up, have the students read it, but I don't know how you're getting these students to read all these books. The students in English 101 are very resistant to reading. So there is the option of having it read to them.
Witchcraft in Salem. On March 1st, 1692, Salem, Massachusetts authorities interrogated Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and an Indian slave, Tituba, to determine if they indeed practiced witchcraft. So began the infamous Salem witch trials of 1692 external. Over the following months, more than 150 men and women in and around Salem were jailed on charges of exercising certain detestable arts called witchcrafts and sorceries. 19 people, including 5 men, were eventually convicted and hanged on Gallows Hill. And an additional male suspect was pressed to death. Others died in prison. Today they are seen as victims of a tragic mistake.
So it continues on for about 15 minutes reading this transcript. So the date here that I picked is March 1st, 1692. So this source would lead itself well for a diary entry. So March 1692, pick a character. What did my character do during this time, during that day? What happened? So of course, for the students to create this diary entry, they have to do a character analysis before they can get started, right? So if we picked Abigail as our character that we're writing a diary entry from, we have to be aware that she's Reverend Paris's niece, right? So she grew up in a rather protected religious household. She was a servant for a while in the Proctor household. Elizabeth had fired her when she found out that she had an affair with her husband, John. So Abigail is smart. She's a very good liar. And she is vindictive when somebody tries to cross her, right? She is very manipulative of a character. So these kind of characteristics would have to come out in a diary entry. So if we had John Proctor as our person to write the entry for, he's a very stern character, right? Harsh, he's a farmer. He hates hypocrisy. But on the other hand, he has that hidden sin, right? He hesitates to expose Abigail for what she is because he doesn't want his own secret to come out. So although he hates hypocrisy, he is kind of a hypocrite himself there, right? So let me go back to the slideshow. So we have the diary entry exercise right here. So choose a character, whichever one you pick. The student will have to do a character analysis first. And then the writing prompt would be to do at least 4 diary entries from the point of view of this character. Of course, it has to reflect the time, the historical background of the play, but also interpret the character's motivations, the character's flaw, and how they would write, how they would present themselves, thoughts, actions, motivations, of what is it they want. what is it they might hide in case of John Proctor. So this would, the background there, the analysis of the character would establish the voice of the character, right? We are in the 1600s Puritan New England. So this is a very close community, right? However, the characters are not necessarily these Puritan figures. They have lives, they have things they're trying to hide, they have motivations, they have wants. So we need to consider those in the character entries. And this was my character entry for Abigail. When she is talking about the scene in the woods, the start of the play. So 9 days later, she has done another diary entry about the needle. This scene with the needle where she is accusing Elizabeth, and she's trying, of course, to get rid of Elizabeth, who is her rival for John's love. And then we have 3 weeks later. And then the 4th one is a week later. So all from the perspective of Abigail. This would be one thing to do. And several of you have said that you are doing this. Dr. Hughes, Ms. Grimes. So on another very similar activity would be to write a letter from the perspective of one of the characters. And Dr. Hughes said that she does something like this with Shakespeare. So witchcraft, people are being accused. They can confess to it, they can deny it, right? So for each character, again, we have to analyze the motivations, the wants, the fears of the character in order to write this letter, and then which way do we want to go? Are we confessing to being a witch, or are we denying being a witch? So again, both possibilities are there. So you have to make a decision here for your character. You can confess to being a witch, even if you were innocent, to save your life, or you can maintain your integrity and deny being a witch, even if it leads to your death, right? So then the character has to, now the students need to have done a close reading of the character, right? In order to write this letter, how do they feel about being accused for being a witch? What were the reasons that they were accused of being this witch? And what are their fears? What are their hopes? What's the internal conflict that they are facing right at the moment when they're writing this letter? And also, what's the role of the community in all of this? So then I have, again, an example. Where Abigail, the first letter written to Reverend Hale, and Abigail denies that she's a witch. She has never consorted with spirits or danced with the devil, and she resents the very suggestion of this. And then we have the opposite. this time to Reverend Paris, her uncle. And she writes with a trembling hand and a heavy heart, and she confesses to being a witch. And she feels ashamed, deeply ashamed of doing so, and of course asks for forgiveness. Now, it is out of her hands in either way, which way goes, right? So for both these assignments, the diary or the letter, we have the grading criteria, historical accuracy, so the context of the character of the play. Have we looked at the character well enough to create a voice? How does the character develop? Is there creativity? Is there insight into the character as well as the community, the situation as a whole? And then, of course, organization, grammar, and effort, always an issue in an English class. Now, on these are all, both of these are ways for the students to go back in time, immerse themselves in the historical context of the original play. Now, on the other hand, we could also move the play into today's society, right? So rather than creating a diary, we could create a blog post. We could bring the play into today's time. So if we're doing a blog post, what is the issue today? In 1692, it was witchcraft. Today we have bullying, we have cancel culture, Me Too movement, Time's Up movement. We have all these different movements in history that are happening right now. So we can take the conflict of these characters and move it forward to dealing with these kind of issues. And then along the same lines, we could also have the students create a newscast. They can either do a written up article about what is happening today, what is going on, or they can go more into it, be more creative, maybe even have a camera team and actually create a newscast. Have an anchor, have a camera person, have a reporter, and tell the story of what happened in Salem for witchcraft. So I was trying to share PowerPoint, but since it's not online, I don't think I can share it. It won't let me. But this is kind of what I had.
Dr. Beckers, are you open for questions now?
Sure.
Discussion?
Yes.
So we're open for questions. The last 10 minutes, Dr. Evans will give us the survey for this workshop. And so we have lots and lots of there's a lot of historical sources on the Library of Congress website. So
Dr. Beckers, I was just really thinking about what you said at the end of your presentation there about doing a newscast and bringing it into our society these days when we look at what's been going on over the last few weeks and how television shows have been canceled and that sort of thing. It almost kind of feels like a witch hunt in our own society in certain ways. So you've definitely opened my mind to new activities here.
I don't know if the students in high school not necessarily up for the late show, but we're losing those late shows.
Yes, they actually have talked about it in my class. So
Oh,
yes,
okay.
they are paying attention.
This is Brenda Bloom. I also wanted to just kind of maybe ask, and following up with what Dr. Hughes said, I would agree. My students have been talking about what has been occurring over the past few weeks. In addition to teaching English, I also teach journalism. And so they've really grown very in tuned and aware of the First Amendment and free speech and all of that in my journalism class. But in reference to my English class and this assignment, what about, because I've had my students in journalism create podcasts, which again, they would of course have to do the research as we we're talking about, getting the background and the historical information. But what about creating a podcast as a character from the play? For me, it would be The Crucible, but creating a podcast where one of the characters is being interviewed by a journalist. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea. Again, this would bring out if the students did really a close reading and really captured the characters' issues, problems, secrets, fears, hopes. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I was just going to say that at the next workshop, I'm going to present for about 10 minutes on taking these Library of Congress resources and making 1-minute video lessons. They can work in high school. They can also work in middle and elementary school. That you can make a minute video lesson. I know we can put it in the learning management system, but sometimes those minute videos might work well on any social media apps that your students use too. Those would work too. So, we want to do things in, using all of the technology we have at our disposal. Because the digitization of the Library of Congress is like a mammoth achievement.
Dr. Deckers, I really like what you said about the denial and the confession. Because the students are going to write about one of the characters, Abigail in particular, denying as well as confessing. It gives them an opportunity to really understand the text and then write about it. So I was wondering if there could be an extension on it, in the sense that can we add something more to the text in the denial, something that we did not see, but it may be plausible, and do the same thing for the confession, and will add a greater depth, to the presentation.
Of course, it's a creative endeavor. So yeah, definitely. The students could bring out things that weren't really in the play, but that would go along with the times, with the characters. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe this is something we need to think about the lengths of these assignments, what they should be, and and things like that, which you can discuss the next time. And I was also going to come up with something that is it. This is something that affects all of us at whatever level we teach. Suppose we have a student or multiple students who are pretty skilled with telling ChatGPT to do things, right? And ChatGPT can do all kinds of things. Yes, it makes a lot of mistakes. It hallucinates, but it can do things very, very quickly. So, I'm assuming in Canvas, the assignments can be checked for use of AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, they can't be checked.
For me, so Canvas is the learning management system. It is the place where the students can upload their assignments.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when my students are writing, I require them to write in no red ink. No red ink will check. It has an AI generator,
Okay,
and it will check for
you do have
plagiarism.
something.
Yes.
Yeah, you do have something which will check for use of AI.
Yes.
But one problem, we have a similar software. It's called CopyLeaks, but most of these programs will even say 100% AI if a student uses Microsoft Word to edit.
Oh, the way no red ink works is if they let's say that they type the work in Word and then highlight it to drop it into no red ink, it's considered as being pasted.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't allow my student, they must type it in no red ink. Now, if they need to write it in their notebook first as a draft, that's fine, but it must be typed as a first time in no red ink.
Right.
And anything over, you can set a certain percentage, anything over a certain percentage is considered plagiarism and they don't get credit. That's how I do it.
That's how you do it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because, this is something, as I said, these have to be original assignments that we're collecting. But, the chatbots get smarter and smarter. So we always have to find out how to make sure that it's the student's own work and it's creative. We know that the chatbots, in fact, there are all kinds of there's all kinds of speculation that because of the chatbots, so many people in the future will lose their jobs. So.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for assignments where students are required to do like extensive writing, for this from the primary sources, would you be opposed to collecting those on paper, like copying like scanning the document and uploading it so that you could get original work? For example, if I have my students do the work in class and I want them to write it to prevent plagiarism, could it be submitted that way?
I suppose so. I mean, somebody would probably have, well, I think we will have to get somebody who's working with the project to type it up. If they were, but if that is the only way we can collect original work, and
So you'd prefer?
That's why I'm bringing this up, because we know that just about everybody over the last 2 years has become young and old. We're all become somewhat skilled in using the chatbots.
Right. But you would prefer if it was typed, like the final.
I think when we upload, we would have to upload it typed, but we can work some.
Well, what I'll probably do then is just have the students work on it in class, but whatever they type must match whatever it is they were producing in class. I guess that's one way.
Yeah, that should work. At least, as I said, if the instructor is satisfied it is original work, right? Then they can probably type it up. I mean, right now, we don't have any staff support with this grant. It's not a very large grant, but it depends. I mean, up to mid-November, we do have students on work study. And if needed, if there was a longer paper and it's handwritten, it's very good. If you could scan it to me, I would try to get a student to type it up. But actually, the way your student could type it up is to use the speech recognition feature of Microsoft Word and dictate into Microsoft Word. And then they could edit it. That's a faster way they would get it typed up. They could handwrite it, when they're more comfortable, but then, it's only the ones that you select.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Those are possibilities.
Okay.
We have only a few minutes to go, so I'm going to request Dr. Jonathan Evans to share this survey. We're taking a survey of every workshop because we have quarterly reporting with the agency. Dr. Evans has the survey in the chat.
Yes, it's in the chat now.
So if you might take a few, a few minutes to fill it in.
And Dr. Wong, since I'm at a place where I'm stopped, since I'm still commuting, if I can just add a shout out to Orangeburg County team. Been listening the entire time. The discussion has been great. Super excited to see some of these ideas come to life as we continue this journey. And again, thank you so much to the Claflin team for all your hard work in preparing tonight's session, all the sessions, but really helping garner those resources that are going to help and making it as easy as possible by working with those texts that our teachers are working with their students. So thank you, everybody. It has been a great session tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Branham. We will send a few questions. We can put them in teams. We'll send a few questions, which will help our presenters for the next two workshops, Dr. Robinson and Dr. Jonathan Evans. Dr. Robinson will be covering in 1984. Dr. Evans will be covering The Great Gatsby. So, I think we will be able to close on time. What I'd like to say is, I'd like to say goodbye to everybody because as you finish your Zoom survey, I know it's the end of the day and it's dinner time. So as you finish your Zoom survey, you could leave the meeting.